Melissa. In this video, I am going to show you how to set up the sheet feeder with your Silhouette Portrait 3. So this is going to be a start to finish setup and first print and cut project with the new Silhouette sheet feeder. So we're going to start with all these cords that you have to get set up, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so once you have unboxed your sheet feeder, it is now time to set it up. So we're gonna set it up a little bit differently between the Portrait and the CAMEO 4. So this video is gonna show you how to set it up with your Portrait 3, okay? So a couple things, you're gonna have the base. This is actually what's gonna be used to connect the two together. And then you are going to have two cords. So you're gonna have this cord, which is eventually going to be used for power. And then you're gonna have this cord, which is gonna connect these two together. So before we get to the cords, let's set this up. So first thing that you wanna do is place the connector basically underneath your portrait. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. So these 2 feet here are what is going to go into these front feet on your portrait. So it's actually easier, I think, if you do it this way and then set it down so you're not trying to fumble for that. All right, and then you've got this series of little poles here. So these shorter poles are what is going to be used for when you're using with the portrait, and it'll kind of slide in there. You're looking for it to connect to these 2 little holes on the front as well. Okay, so we want to make sure that that gets set in there, and then it's all kind of becomes one. So you'll feel that happen. Then you need to use these connectors. So I'm try to turn this so you can hopefully see and come around to the side here. So what we have here is, let's take this cord first, okay? So this is a power cord, is gonna go into your portrait, and then this part will go into the sheet feeder. It's pretty obvious just based on, you know, the shape of it, okay? That will eventually connect to the main power source, the cord that you normally use to connect your portrait to the power. Okay, then you have this cord. Now, normally you would have your Silhouette Portrait connected from the portrait to your computer. In this case, first you need to connect these two. So this more square one goes into the portrait, and the USB side goes into the sheet feeder, okay? And then you have one remaining outlet, and that one is going to get the USB cord from the sheet feeder to the computer. So you're gonna plug that in there, and then that will plug into your computer, which I have right here as well. I'm on a Mac, so I need to use an adapter, and I will then plug that in. Now what I need to do is grab my power cord, and I'm gonna connect that to this power connector, okay? And once that's plugged in to a power supply, I will be able to turn on both, turn it this way, the power connector, the power button for the sheet feeder is on the side, and obviously for the portrait is on the inside, okay? So both now have power connected to them. Now, if this is the first time that you're using your sheet feeder, you will need to set it up in Silhouette Studio. So let's jump over there and do that. All right, so to use the Silhouette sheet feeder for the first time, you will need to download software that supports it. So you'll want to go to the silhouetteamerica.com/software website, and then you want to install v4.5.152 as the oldest version. Okay, so I'm not saying that it is the oldest version. I'm saying that that is the oldest version that will support it. So if you are on v4.4 at this point, you are going to need to update. If this is a year from now and you're watching this, you're probably okay. But at the very least, you need to be on v4.5.152. Now, all right, so once you get the software installed, you're gonna come to your, regular work area in the design in the design tab. And from the page setup panel, what you're gonna do is change the feed type. You will now have sheet feeder as an option. So change to that, which will automatically eliminate the cutting mat option, okay? And then what you're going to do is you need to basically do a firmware update for the sheet feeder. So you can now move to the send panel. Now, if this is your first time doing this, what you're gonna need to do is now select the sheet feeder as the machine that you're using. So you're not going to pick your portrait as your machine. You're gonna pick your auto sheet feeder. Now, as I said, if you haven't done this before, you're going to get a warning that you need to do a firmware update. So go ahead and do that, all right? So once that is set up, now you can go back to the design area and create your print and cut as you normally would. So it would add registration marks, turn on your show print border, show cut border, and add your design. So I'm just going to use this set of hedgehogs that I have. And what you will want to do is move forward with the printing part like you normally would. So for this example, I'm just going to print 3 sheets of this same design on sticker paper. Okay, so after your sheets are printed, you can place them in the sheet feeder. Now, the registration marks need to be like they normally would and feed in that way. Okay, so we have them all stacked here. Whoops, I'm gonna double check that they're all stacked the same way. So that square needs to be at the top left. And then you are simply going to push the sheets in as far as they would go. You will meet resistance. Now there's a little bit of a extender here that you can use to keep your sheets straight. And you wanna make sure that this tab here is pressed as far to the left as it can go, but without like wrinkling your papers, okay? So you want your sheets to be stacked against this edge, which is stationary, by making sure that it's pressed tightly, this side is pressed tightly, okay? So once you do that, you can return to the software, and what you have in the send panel now is a couple of things. So first, obviously you wanna change your material. So we're using sticker paper. So I'm gonna change to sticker paper, and I only wanna cut the edge because this is print and cut. And then what you have, so that's all normal, just like you normally would for a print and cut. Now, however, because you have selected the sheet feeder as your tool or as your machine, you're gonna adjust the number of copies. Now, in this case, I made 3 printouts, so I'm gonna do 3. So when you're ready, you can click send. Now you might get a panel that comes up and gives you some instructions. After you do it the first time, you can check to say that you don't wanna see it again. Now what you'll see is the machine will pull through that first sheet, okay? And it's gonna look for the registration marks. Once it does that, the blade will adjust as it normally does, and then the cutting will begin. Now, what is supposed to happen is after this first sheet successfully cuts, the next sheet, well, that sheet will be pushed out the back of the portrait, and then the next sheet will be automatically loaded. Because you have told the software that you want 3 copies to cut, it will then do the exact same cut on all the subsequent sheets. So make sure you don't load too many sheets, and you also want to make sure that they have a little bit of like air between them so that they're not static. This is white, just white paper, so it's not going to be, they're not going to get stuck there together probably, but you do want to make sure that your papers are stacked, you know, not so tightly. I wouldn't put in any more than probably 10 sheets at a time. Now, your sheet should be extended out the back, and then the next sheet will go through. The registration marks will be found, and then the printing and cutting will begin again. Okay, so the third and final sheet has finished cutting. So now I have all 3 of my sheets. So let's see how accurately they cut. So there is a test from the first one. All right, you can see there is nothing left behind on that. And then I'll pull a sticker off of the second sheet. Same thing, no white edge. I didn't actually even add a bleed to these. And then the third sheet. So, oh, this is great. So it looks like the print and cut was extremely accurate on all 3. So it's going to be really important to obviously make sure that you don't change the position of the design or anything in between. And it did look like, I'm actually pretty impressed with the way that this worked. Now, we did only use 3 sheets. However, this was also the very first time I did it with you, so you could see this was the first time that I was able to use the sheet feeder. So if you're interested, if you do a lot of stickers, this is actually something that may really help you increase production because you can basically set it and forget it. I'll be doing other videos as well on how to stack multiple different sticker sheets. So not the same design in here. You're going to have to use the barcode feature for that, but that is also a possibility.